Welcome back, Team Hot Mess. I'm Jen, and today we're doing something revolutionary. We're saying the word menstruation and the word PMS without whispering. Because I'm done with the just take a painkiller and be productive anyway narrative. Some of us are out here building businesses, managing lives, doing all of that while our hormones are doing parkour. And we deserve a manual. So I invited Ami Dave on the show. She's been a physician assistant for 24 years, women's health coach, founder of the Wealth of Wellness, and she used cycle syncing to get rid of her PMS symptoms in 4 months. Today, she's giving us the actual blueprint: food, workouts, fasting windows, and how to plan your calendar like a smart person with a uterus. Okay, definitely press play on your notes app and let's dive in. Oh my God, Amy, welcome. I'm so happy to have you as my first guest on a podcast. Thank you so much for showing up and for being here. And could you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and also why you're doing it?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and be your first guest. So my name is Ami. I'm in New York, and I have been a physician assistant for 24 years. I was always big on preventive medicine, diet, exercise, all these things that can help prevent diseases. But I wasn't really taking care of myself. I thought I was eating lots of salads, and I thought I was exercising, 45 minutes to 60 minutes of cardio most days of the week. But I wasn't seeing results. I was always tired. I was frustrated. I was exhausted, overwhelmed. And so during the COVID quarantine, I learned about something called cycle syncing, and I decided to take care of my own health. And just by making changes to my diet, my exercise, and my sleep routine, I was able to get rid of all my PMS symptoms in 4 months. And I was like floored. I couldn't believe it. All my life I had just been told from doctors that this is just a part of life. You take your medicines every month, you use your heating pad, you just push through, basically. And then I realized that that wasn't the only option. And once I figured that out, I knew I wanted to teach this to other women. So I became a coach specializing in women's health. And here I am today.
Awesome. I love that for you because, as we both know, there's a lot of women with those symptoms, and also women who want to fire up at work or with their families or in their business. And those are the people listening mostly. And what was the first step that you took to make it lighter for yourself, basically?
Just becoming aware. So I learned how to track my cycle. And a normal bleed, if for all the women who have their monthly cycle, you should be bleeding every 30 days or so, give or take a few days. But one, if you're not bleeding every 30 days, that could be a hormonal issue, and you can regulate that with diet and exercise. And two, you shouldn't have heavy bleeding more than probably 2 to 3 days max. Whereas, I was bleeding heavy for 5 to 7 days before, and I was able to shorten that again just with some changes in my lifestyle habits. So the first step is really just becoming aware. You don't have to change anything. You just want to start tracking. When are you bleeding? If you're trying to conceive, maybe you're tracking ovulation, which is the middle of the cycle. And once you start seeing that, you'll start seeing patterns.
All right. And just for our listeners, I'm going to ask all the shameful questions because I have issues with this. And I'll be happily reporting back to everyone after a month or two, just so that people know how I have like a little question about my own cycle, because my cycle is very short. Would you say a 20 to 25 day cycle is healthy, or is that a bit on the short side?
It could be a bit on the short side. So it might indicate a few different things. One, that your progesterone might be a little bit low. It could also be that your estrogen is too high and just out of balance. So there could be some issues there. Again, you can probably regulate it a little bit with just some lifestyle changes and things like that. And of course, for the older women in their late 30s and 40s, irregular cycles is a part of perimenopause. So they could become a little bit shorter than normal. They could become a little bit longer than normal. You could skip a month here and there. It can vary. It definitely is a hormonal shift that could make the cycles a little bit shorter.
All right. Yeah, because I've been wondering about it, and I've been looking at my log on Apple Health, and I was asking myself, like, why are they so short, and why is it so painful? So maybe that's definitely something to actually discuss with my GP, and also maybe with like a tip or two from you. And I hope that everyone can also listen to them and implement them. What is the first thing that you did to regulate yourself a little bit better, to make it more friendly for you and your body? Because that's what we're looking for in the end.
Yep. So I started with changes to my diet, and it was simple shifts. So, I did a lot of research, I did a lot of reading, and you might notice some of this intuitively, but some weeks salads and smoothies might taste really great. And other weeks, like when you're on your bleed, those may not taste so great. And those are the weeks where you need more warming foods like soups or a really nice stew, loaded with roasted veggies. When a woman goes through her 4 phases every month, it's almost like the 4 seasons. If you think of your bleeding week as like a winter phase, right? You want warming foods, you want hot teas. And I think we do that intuitively sometimes. We sit with a blanket, right? Because your body is in that cold phase, whereas in ovulation, it's considered summer. So you actually enjoy the salads and the smoothies and the ice drinks and, more. And if you just pay attention and listen intuitively, it's simple shifts in your diet like that. Raw foods in the first 2 weeks of the cycle, more warm foods in the second 2 weeks, more roasted veggies like sweet potatoes or butternut squash. So the PMS week before your bleed and then the week of your bleed, you want more hearty vegetables. Whereas in the other 2 weeks, you could do like just lightly steamed zucchini or cauliflower, things that are not as dense. I want to say dense, but calorie wise. Same thing with exercise. There are some weeks where cardio is better. There are some weeks where strength training is better. There are some weeks where you may not want to exercise at all. Like if you're on your bleed, yoga or a brisk walk might be it. And that's fine, right? And the same thing happens in your workflow, which I think is, a topic for your audience. Is some weeks you might feel more creative than others. Some weeks you might feel more outgoing and social. And you're like, I rocked that podcast this week. I did my presentation. It was amazing. And then the next week you do the same thing and you're like, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So it's all, it all plays into the cycle, and it's very intuitive. Once you get the hang of it, you can start listening to your body and saying, there's some weeks where the intuition goes up for women. So if you're getting the same kind of thoughts in your PMS week about maybe a life change or a partner or something, you might want to listen to that. You might want to journal about it. You might want to focus on that, because if it's a recurring thought in that PMS week, your body's trying to tell you something.
All right. Wow. Yeah, that was also a question that I had written down. Like, why can period symptoms sometimes like feel neurological, like with dizziness and panic and brain fog, dissociation? The list goes on, and it's so crazy and creepy. But that's actually your body trying to tell you something that it already knew.
Yeah, your brain needs estrogen, one, and the different levels of estrogen affect how your brain functions on a daily basis.
Oh, wow. My goodness. Okay. Next time I'll listen a bit closer then.
Well, here's the thing. We've all been trained to kind of ignore it. And we've been taught to behave like a male, where they can do the same thing every day. They can eat the same things every day and be fine. Yeah. They can lose weight. They can build muscle. Their energy levels are the same every day. Whereas for us, if you're having a cycle, your energy is going to vary. Your ability to be social and communicative is going to vary. Your intuition skyrockets during your PMS week. If you're, taking care of yourself and paying attention to it, you will notice these simple shifts that happen every week.
Yeah, because I've only started like really paying attention to it ever since I entered my 30s. And in my 20s, and especially my teens, I didn't give a fudge. I just walked around. I was like, oh, let's just power through everything. And oh my God, I'm so strong. And I'm in so much pain, but I'm just going to function indeed like a guy. But we are not made to do that.
And I learned this information in my 40s. I wish I had known this in my 20s and 30s, because once I learned it, and my physical symptoms went away in just a few months, but then other things that I wasn't anticipating started happening. So I wasn't yelling at my kids as often. I was communicating better with my husband. We go out for date lunches when he's off. And before it was just like, we'll just eat whatever. We'll just eat whatever. And then I started learning about this. I'm like, you know what? I need a salad today. Or no, salad is not what I need. Let's go for the soup or this, sushi place or whatever. So, and now he just asks me, like when we go on a date, he'll be like, what do you need to eat? That's where we're going to go.
That's actually a very smart question. What do you need to eat, or what does your body need to eat?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
we often forget that.
Yeah. We have to, if you listen, your body will tell you. Like if you're eating the same food every week, some weeks it's going to taste amazing. And you're going to be like, I love this. It's my favorite meal, because that's what your body needs. But then the following week you eat the same food and you're like, it was okay. Because your body needs a different nutrient that it's not maybe getting in that food. So like, dark leafy greens are really high in magnesium, which is great during your PMS week, but you may not need so much of it during the follicular phase, which is the week right after the bleed, right? So you might not enjoy the dark leafy greens that much in that phase. Whereas in the PMS week, you could eat like a whole bowl of it and be like, this is delicious. I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, I felt like lately I've been going back and forth between a lot of rice and vegetables and vegetarian things during my period. And then right after my period, I feel like, oh my God, I need to eat some meat. I need to get some meat into my system. But now I'm thinking about it, it sounds so logical.
Yeah. And what do you lose when you bleed, right? Iron is in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
And what's a great source of iron is your red meat.
Exactly.
So your body's, it's almost like a craving. So cravings are body's way of telling you what it needs, right? So a salt craving is not craving sodium, it's craving magnesium. Sugar craving is not craving sweets, it's actually craving your B vitamins, right? Because those are often found in carbohydrate kind of foods. So it's just a lot of things like this where, your body's telling you what you need.
So basically, listen to your body, make sure that you get the nutrients that it's asking for, not like the whole thing of chocolate, but the nutrients that it's asking for, because that's basically what it needs, and adjust your moving and your exercising schedule onto that. Because I also used to just go to the gym during my menstruation and it would hurt a lot. And I was just powering through, I was just plowing through. And that was terrifying.
Yeah. And it's your body saying, no, this is a week to rest. So on your bleed, what I recommend to my clients now is yoga, gentle yoga, not even like, the hot yoga or the, anything intense, but gentle yoga, or just a brisk walk on the heaviest days. And then as it, gets on the lighter ends, so the week before your period, you're supposed to do strength training and Pilates. And then the week right after your period, cardio is really good to get your heart rate up. So if you vary your exercises and your foods and your workflow, everything based on where you are in the cycle, so many things will change for you.
So to paint a little picture for the listeners, last week I was on my period. So I do my yoga every morning. So that's a standard thing. I just feel nice with it. I just sit well with it. And I listen to my body. And during my yoga, sometimes I get like little blackouts and migraines, but that's just me trying to listen to my body and then putting myself back to sleep. We all don't do that often enough, actually. So this week after my period, I should go running maybe, or jogging. Let's say jogging. I'm not a big runner, but jogging.
Yes. Anything that gets your heart rate up. So any kind of cardio, swimming, jogging, dancing is my cardio of choice, because this is the week that your body can handle that high heart rate. And then next week, when you're ovulating, you get a surge of testosterone. So you're going to have maximum energy next week. Pay attention. See if you notice that. And that's when you do your most highest intensity workouts. So your HIIT, the high intensity interval workouts, your boot camp style workouts, kickboxing. Like that's when you really want to kick it up a notch, because you have that testosterone to boost you. So see how you feel next week. See how your energy is. And then the week after that, which would be your PMS week, which is the luteal phase, you want to not raise your heart rate so high, but you want to do more strength training and Pilates.
So more push-ups, sit-ups, Pilates, things like that.
Yeah, but not at a fast pace. You want to just want to do proper form and try to build the muscles, not get the heart rate up.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh God. I'm so going to write that down and I'm going to send this out to so many of my girlfriends because we need this information. I had no clue, but it does make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me that I'm torturing myself to go to the gym while I'm bleeding and in pain and probably also eating the wrong things and all that stuff. Yeah, listen to your body, I guess. Yeah, we should do that more often.
Yeah.
Also, with the guys at work, for example, like I told them, like during my period, I will just be very transparent with you guys, and I'm not going to show up at the office because I just do not like myself that week. Leave me alone. And actually, when I'm working at home during my period and I'm just keeping it on the down low, I feel a lot better in my body. Also, because I don't know about you and about any other people that might be listening, but I have a lot of anxiety fluctuation when I am on my period. I get super anxious and overwhelmed and just so panicky that I just can't handle going to other places that are too far away, especially in my region here. I have to take public transport to go to work. So I can't. I'm just not doing it. I'm keeping myself inside.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think you hear that from more women that their anxiousness just goes through the roof basically, or not.
Yeah. It's one of the symptoms of PMS is anxiety. So the week before your bleed, it'll start building and then it can continue on. Again, your estrogen controls your emotions and things, right? And that week that you're bleeding, your estrogen and progesterone, they both drop. They go to the lowest levels in the week. So you don't have that much estrogen circulating in the body. So yeah, it's very intuitive. Like I said, we've just been taught to ignore it and not listen. Yep. But
Yeah.
business too, like if you notice some weeks you're very creative, right? And you're thinking of all kinds of new projects and new podcast ideas and new whatever. And then the following week, you don't have that creativity, but you're more social. So that's the week where maybe, okay, I had this idea last week. Let me go ask people about it. Let me collaborate with somebody. Let me learn about it. Right. So, and then the following week is your PMS kind of week, the luteal phase. One, your body wants to like push through and get through your to-do list. So if you feel like certain weeks, like, oh man, I got everything done on my list and it went fast, it was probably because you're in that week. And then your intuition's high that week. So you can say, okay, was this idea a good idea? Is it something we want to follow through with and do? And then in your bleed week, it's more about retrospection. You know, how was the past month for me? Did we get through it? Did we get through everything on our to-do list? How did we do? So it's more introspection, reflection, and then planning ahead for the next week. No, next month.
Awesome. Oh my God. Yeah, now I can totally also see like the seasons stepping in and everything. This is such a big relation for me. Oh my God. This is big. This is huge. Like you're opening my brain up to something totally new that I have never thought about, especially because I tend to work with clients, so my marketing clients, they're mostly, you know, in technology, big tech, big pharma, lots of guys. They have no clue. And whenever I say, okay, guys, I don't feel that well today and I'm on my period, they go, oh my God, what are you saying?
You said the word, right?
Oh no, menstruation. Oh, now you're gonna be a bitch. And and now I'm just so crystal clear in at least my communication with them when I'm on my period. I just tell them, guys, I am on my period. And for a fact, I know that we have 32 more times the amount of hormones that like fluctuate through our bodies in a month than a guy has in his whole life. So, you know what? I'm just gonna stay home. This is safer for me. But like the whole 4 seasons thing and planning it out for yourself, it sounds super logical. And I do feel like I've been mistreating myself a little bit. And indeed, also the taste with food. Whenever I'm eating a pizza, for example, the week before my period, it tastes super off.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so
Because
weird.
here's why. Dairy and gluten can increase your period cramps, right? Those are common inflammatory foods. So dairy, gluten, processed foods, fried foods. And if that's the week where you're getting cramps, then your body might be saying, we don't need this pizza this week. Let's save it for another 2 weeks. Here's something for you. If once you start learning this and taking care of your body, you may not be so
Mhm.
irritable on the week of your bleed.
And it
You're
might also become less painful or
Yeah, well, your moods will stabilize and you'll be feeling less pain. So you may not be as much of a bitch. And I can speak from personal experience, both my kids and my husband. So I've been practicing this about 5 years now, since
Mhm.
2020. And both my husband and my kids have told me that I yell at them less. I'm not angry as often. My kids, when they were younger, they're teenagers now, but when they were younger, they had a name for me called Monster Mom. When
Oh.
when I was yelling at them for the volume of a movie one day, or because they didn't pack their lunch one day, and I'm like all of a sudden screaming. And so they're like, yeah, Mom, Monster Mom, we used to be scared of her, but she doesn't come out that often anymore. So
That's amazing.
yes, things change.
That's great. Oh my God. Yeah, because last week at some point I was standing in the aisle of a supermarket and I couldn't find the thing that I wanted and I nearly started crying. So yeah, probably taking better care of your food and your movements they will make sense. Talking about these four seasons and about the period, how does it kind of look like for you? What do you feel good with? How do you, I wouldn't say alternate. How do you kind of schedule your weeks so that we can get kind of a picture?
For work, for exercise, which one? Give me
Mm,
I can do all of them, but just give me one to,
yeah, maybe
yeah.
with work because it's a lot of working women who are listening. Yeah, that would be a good
Okay.
one.
So we'll start with the week right after your bleed, because that's kind of like the spring season, the beginning of the year. Again, that's when you're most creative. That's when you want to write down all your ideas for a new project, and that's when you want to kind of plan out your month ahead. The following week is your ovulation week. So you want to take one of those ideas that you might have had 5 or 7 ideas in the, follicular phase. You're very creative and all these things might be popping into your head. So you write them all down and you pick one.
Mhm.
And in your ovulation phase, when you have that testosterone surge, you go out and you talk to people, whether it's asking questions about your project or collaborating with somebody about your project or presenting a meeting, presenting your topic at a meeting or whatever it is, you get all that communication out, whatever you need to talk to with other people, figure it out, get it done. In the luteal phase, which is your PMS week, the week right before the bleed, that's when your brain wants to like get things done. So you make your to-do list for that one project and you just knock things off the list. Like, okay, we need to talk to this person. We need to book this. We need to get this scheduled. And it may not be a whole project that you can do in a month, but if it's a larger project, you break it down. Like if it's a 90-day project, what can I accomplish this month, right? So one thing that you can do in a month. In that luteal phase, you want to just get things done, work, work, work. Your body will feel good about, just sitting and getting things done. And then when you have your period, one, you can finish off that project. And two, you can kind of use that time to reflect and analyze, like, how did the project go? Did we do everything right? Did we hit our mark for the month? Did we hit the goal, the money goal, whatever that you can use that time on your bleed to kind of, it's behind the scenes work, right? Let me go back. Let
Yeah.
me think how the month went. You're not standing in front of somebody. You're not presenting, especially if you have your own business and you can plan these things out. Now, here's the caveat. Sometimes speaking engagements or things are planned several months out, right? You don't exactly know where you'll be in your cycle. So what do you do then?
Yeah.
Is a common question. So what happens is if for example, on my bleed 3 months from now or whatever, you book something 6 months out, like a big talk or whatever, and it just happens to be coming on the week of your bleed. And you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't be talking this week. What should I do? So you want to make sure the day before and the day after, you really are taking that rest and taking care of yourself so that you can do that speaking engagement even on your bleed, right? And you won't be in pain. You won't be stressed out. You won't be irritable. You'll be able to manage it if you can plan the rest maybe 2 days before, a day after, and you're not overbooking your calendar during that week. If that same talk was scheduled and it was your ovulation week, you could probably do 2 talks in a week and be fine, right? You have the energy, you have you'll just be naturally going. But so you can plan around it if things happen to fall onto your calendar in a week that they shouldn't be there. You just have to take care of yourself around those days and plan for downtime.
I'm definitely going to just record it for myself, write it down, and I'm going to take what you just said into account. I do feel like that is already like half of the work of taking care of yourself, basically. And if next to that you take into account the stuff that we talked earlier about, the food and moving, then you can basically envelope yourself in a bigger bag of comfort and make sure that you feel more at home in your body.
Yeah. And you don't do it all at once. I wouldn't suggest doing the diet and the exercise and the work and everything at once.
Yeah, no.
Pick one thing, start with it, go through maybe a full cycle just with, I'm just changing my diet this month. Once you get used to that, then you can say, okay, now I'm going to add in the exercises. Once you get used to that, you can say, okay, now I'm going to add in the workflow. So when I first started reading, there's so many books out there. If you look up cycle syncing or cycle tracking, or, there's all kinds of books out there. And on Pinterest, I don't know if you use Pinterest, but if you just type in cycle syncing, you'll get all kinds of charts and visuals, and there's circular charts and, square charts and all this stuff. So I had made my own little chart, and I have it's taped up inside the kitchen cabinet door. And initially when I first started doing this, I would open that cabinet and be like, okay, what flavor herbal tea? I drink herbal tea. So it's like, what flavor herbal tea is good? So some weeks ginger is great. Some weeks hibiscus or raspberry leaf or holy basil, right? So I would just have all my box of teas, and I would look at the little chart and be like, okay, I need this tea for today. I would have all my fruits and vegetables listed. I would have all the exercises listed. It even works in your love life. Like there's different ways to work on that throughout the month, right? So what am I supposed to be doing in my business? So I had this big chart up in my kitchen cabinet, and I used to refer to it a lot, and it's still there. But now it's kind of become second nature to me, so I don't have to refer to it as often.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Yay.
Well, 5 years in, so I've kind of gotten into my rhythm and my things. And now I can enjoy, like I love mozzarella sticks, right? When we go out, the kids, they always order it. I have 3 teenage boys, so they're ordering everything on the menu. But I love them. And I know that if I eat them right after my bleed, I'll be okay. But if I eat them in that PMS week, again, that's one of the foods that gives me cramps. Even if I do eat it, then I'll know, because I'll be like, oh yeah, I have cramps now. But yeah, I wonder why. But I try to avoid it in that week. Whereas in the week after my bleed, I'm like, oh yeah, I can have one and not have any issues.
And I think for me right now, what I could do is definitely try the work cycle and skipping fried foods during my bleed. I think that would help a lot already, because when you're bleeding, you are lazy, you want easy and whatever, but it also doesn't taste that good. I should prep my food differently. And last week when we were talking about it, when we did our little vibe check together, I told you, like, I just feel like having an egg and my broccoli and some rice. And I should probably listen to that part of my body a little bit more. So I think I'm going to lean into that, and that will probably work wonders already. And then indeed leave the pizza for later.
Yeah. I mean, you can have it. So the beauty of this is that it's cyclical, right? So that you're avoiding in your PMS week to avoid cramps, you can have the week after your bleed, right?
Yeah.
When the hormone levels are low, they're not high yet, they're not going to cause inflammation or anything. So you can have it, just not every week.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I love pizza. I pizza, pasta, I love it. But I know that during this 1 week, I need to have more roasted vegetables and more dark leafy greens than a pizza, right? So, and we go out often. Again, I have 3 kids, so they all love to eat. But I plan even when we go out, I'll say, no, this week is a salad. So I'll have a huge entree salad with lots of protein and, nuts and things in there, just not an empty salad. And then 2 weeks later, I'll have a big old soup or stew or, a plate of roasted veggies. And so I vary my whatever I choose off the menu based on where I am in the cycle. So it can work eating in, eating out, with meal prepping. Yeah, like if you know that I always need soup on my bleed, the week before, make a huge pot of soup and freeze it, right?
Makes sense.
And then you have
sense.
a couple of days of soup, or make a couple of different soups or whatever it is, or roasted veggies. And you can make it ahead of time and freeze it and then just pull it out when you don't feel like cooking.
Yeah, exactly. And to paint a picture for the people listening, because they would like to learn a little bit more about you as well and about how you practice with your, should I say clients, or yeah, I think that's the right word. You basically teach them to trust their bodies again. And how does that look like a little bit? What kind of programs do you do? What kind of coaching exactly, so that they know how to find you afterwards, and why they could find you?
Perfect. So I right now mostly am one-on-one. I do have a very small group, 5 people, just a 5-week introduction where we go through each phase, once a week on a call. But in my 3-month program, I go through 3 full cycles with somebody, right? So on the first week of the call, I'll ask you, when was your last bleed? And from there, we'll map it out. And I'll say, okay, you're in your bleed was 2 weeks ago. This is our first call. So you're in your ovulation week. Here are the things that you need to do this week. So I kind of spell it out for them, like, so they don't have to worry about learning it and this and that. And I'm like, just try these things this week, or pick one of these things and try for the week. The following week on the call, they'll be in the next week of the phase. So I'll be like, okay, here are your options for food, exercise, and workflow. Pick one and do it for the whole week and see how you feel. So I actually end up going through 3 full cycles with a woman. And, the first one, they're kind of learning and figuring it out. By the 3rd cycle, sometimes they're starting to see improvement. And usually at my 1-month follow-up, which would be 4 months, they're seeing improvement in their symptoms or in their, anxiety or irritability or all of that. They're starting to see within 4 months.
Oh, that's so cool. That's lovely.
Yeah. So 2 things I would start with if you're not ready for one-on-one coaching is track your cycle and go to Pinterest or go on Google and search cycle syncing images, and you'll get all these like charts and graphs, and here's the foods to eat. Here are the teas you should be drinking. Here are like seed cycling. There's all kinds of information that you can start with for free. And then if you get stuck, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. And we were also talking about this thing as well. Was it again the fasting like a girl thing? Because you were also talking with someone else about the fasting thing. And I do like to fast. I do like the 16-8, but I can't do that for the whole month. Is there a different type of fast that I could do when I am actually on my period?
Yeah. So 16-8 is great in the first 2 weeks after your bleed. But in the PMS week and the bleed week, you actually need 300 more calories in a day. And so I would recommend staying closer to 12 and 12 on those weeks. Or, you could do like maybe 14 and 10. I wouldn't go all the way to 16 and 8 at that point. I would keep it a little bit longer eating window, because you do need more calories during those weeks.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. My mind is blown.
I didn't know this either. Don't feel bad. I did not know this until I started learning and researching and reading about it.
Wow, you've given me like a whole crutch to like hold on to. And I think for every woman who's listening to this, or anyone who gets a period, actually, they have already learned so much. Yeah. And this whole cycle awareness, how do you see it supporting your clients? Like, how do they feel afterwards?
Oh, they feel so much better. One of the things I hear is I feel like a new woman, or I feel like a much better mom. They're more present. They're not angry. They're just, and they have more less, I should say, they have less of that mom brain fog that comes in, and they just feel so much better. And sometimes that leads them to pursue a new hobby or a new career or a side hustle, or, because they're feeling so much better and they have so much more energy, they can pursue something else that they had put on the back burner for so long.
That's so cool. I must say in my household, it's a little bit odd sometimes because we're two women, as I've told you. So within that, we'll have to find a balance because we're definitely not syncing up. But this definitely will give everyone a lot of
Yeah, but you
insights too.
eat the same meals every day, right? Or even if you did, if you made a salad and a soup, right? You can have more. You can still have the salad on your bleed. You may just want a little portion and a bigger portion of soup or roasted vegetable, or you could freeze it and then you freeze it in little containers, individual servings, and you say, you have this on this week, and I'll have this on this week. When you go out too, you can order based on where you are in the cycle. It can work out. I'm in a house of, I have my husband and 3 boys, so I'm the only one. But even then, some days I'll make something for my kids and I'll be like, no, you know what? I can't eat this today. So I'll make myself something different. And at first, my husband was like, why are you making different meals for everybody and this and that? But I was like, no, listen, I really can't eat that food this week, or I shouldn't eat that food this week. So I'm going to have this. And so now he's okay with it. Or I'll modify, like if I make Mexican enchiladas or something, right? But I don't want the carbs that week, I'll just eat the filling, which is beans and veggies in our house, because we're all vegetarian. So I'll just eat the filling, but I won't have like the tortilla or that much cheese. I'll put less cheese, for myself, but I'm still eating the same food, if you will, that they're eating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely the food prepping will help a lot because I used to do that quite a bit. And like a couple of years ago, I was listening to my body at some point for like a lot. I think it was during the pandemic where I was like, oh, I have nothing to do. So, I'm going to food prep. And I was food prepping according to what I thought I needed. And that worked very well. So I should step back into that probably.
Yeah. It might
That
help.
will make a big difference. Yeah.
And like I said, if you're making it and you freeze it, then you and your, partner can share like, okay, you have the soup this week, I'll have that one next week, or you make you can make different things. You just have to vary don't eat a full salad if you're on your bleed, right? Have a little salad and have more warming foods.
Yes, exactly. Do you have any other parting words for people listening? Is there anything that you're thinking about, like, oh, you should know this?
Well, I'll give you one little caveat. So if you're on the birth control pill, if you're taking hormonal birth control for your symptoms or to prevent pregnancy, you're not actually having a cycle. So it's a little bit tricky, but you can still follow the moon, because the moon also goes through 4 phases every month. So you can kind of follow that if you're on birth control or you're not having a cycle, just to get the hang of it. And the second thing I would tell you is it sounds really complicated at first. And it sounds like you're overhauling a whole lot of stuff, but it's not. If you start with one thing at a time, it can be fairly easy and it doesn't take much time. It can be a few minutes a day of just planning the right meal, getting the right groceries, maybe changing out your exercise one for the other, like strength training for cardio or vice versa or whatever. It's not a whole life overhaul, and it shouldn't be, but it's kind of like take one thing at a time. And once you get the hang of it, it becomes easy. It becomes second nature. Then tackle the next thing.
Would you also like to share your website and your social handles with us so people know exactly where to find you?
Thank you. So my business is called The Wealth of Wellness, and I have a website that's called thewealthofwellness.com. And if you go there, right on the top of the page, I think you can get a free guide that's called Live a Life Without PMS. And if you sign up for that, it's kind of what we talked about. It gives you an introduction of what the 4 phases are and some quick tips that you can start doing right away. And that's completely free. It's there. I'm also pretty active on social media, so you can find me at The Wealth of Wellness LLC on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. I have a YouTube channel with the same name. So yeah, I'm all over.
Awesome. Okay, people know where to find you. And as female bodies, we should do our stuff for ourselves to make ourselves feel better. Oh, I'm so grateful that you were here. And I've learned so much from you. So thank you. A million thank yous to you. This is going to be put to good use in my brain, at least.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am happy to share because I just want all women to feel great.
Of course. Oh, that was amazing. Well, guys, we are going to hang out for another couple of minutes to discuss what we've just said. And I want to thank you guys for listening so much, especially the female identifying people today. Please take care of yourself and have a great day, everyone. Ami, thank you. This was genuinely one of those episodes where I'm like, why did nobody teach us this at 16? Team Hot Mess. Your one homework assignment is track first. Don't overhaul your entire life tonight. Track, then pick one change for one cycle: food or movement or planning your work weeks. Ami's info is in the show notes, and I'm putting the link to her free guide there too, so you can start without thinking too hard. And if you want more of this energy, ambition, real life, zero perfect girl pressure, come join with Jen Business Club. It's community plus accountability for people building big things while being human. And last thing, if you're into unique finds, vintage, makers, and pieces with a story, check out Vondo. That's a marketplace I'm co building. That would be VENDAUX.com. All right, Team Hot Mess. Drink water, eat something decent, and I will see you the next episode.